Today, we're diving into one of the most intense and, honestly, challenging stories in the entire book of Genesis. It's a story all about family honor, a terrible injustice, and an act of revenge so shocking that its echoes are still felt today. We're in Genesis chapter 34, and this story feels as dramatic as any movie you've ever seen. It really forces us to ask some pretty tough questions, Like, when you see something wrong, what is the right way to respond? And where's the line between getting justice and just getting revenge? This isn't just some dusty old tale. It's a story about powerful feelings that we all still struggle with today. All right, so our story begins, well, not with a big explosion, but on a pretty quiet, ordinary day. And we meet our main character, Dinah, the daughter of the great patriarch Jacob. Let's just paint a picture here. Imagine it. Jacob's family has just set up camp near this city called Shechem. The air is warm, it's a little dusty. You can probably hear the buzz of merchants in the city and the sound of sheep in the fields. And Dinah, who's full of life and curiosity about this new place, decides, hey, I'm gonna go meet the women of the land, see what their lives are like. It's just an innocent, everyday moment that is about to change absolutely everything. So on this trip, she's seen by the prince of the city, who happens to also be named Shechem. And he assaults her. Now, the Bible uses a very specific and very powerful word for this, defiled. To really get this story, we have to understand what that word meant back then. It wasn't just a personal, physical hurt for Dinah. In that culture, it was a huge public dishonor to her entire family. It was like a stain on their name that they felt just could not be ignored. And this is where the story gets really complicated. After doing this absolutely terrible thing, Shechem develops these incredibly strong feelings for Dinah. He's completely captivated by her. So he goes to his father, Hamor, who's the king, and says, you have to get her to be my wife. In his mind, he wants to do the honorable thing and make it all right by marrying her. So Shechem and his father head over to Jacob's camp to make a formal proposal. But for Dinah's family, the wound is just way too deep for a simple deal. Can you just imagine Jacob hearing what happened to his only daughter? The Bible says he just stayed silent, but you can feel the heavy, cold weight of that silence, can't you? He's a father, he's a leader, but he just holds it all in, waiting for his sons, the fierce protectors of the family, to come home from the fields. The tension is just building and building. And when they finally get back and hear the news, their reaction is the total opposite of Jacob's quiet grief. It is a firestorm. They are furious, not just for their sister, but for the dishonor to their whole family. To them, this is an unthinkable crime, a violation of everything they believe in. So when Hamor and Shechem show up with their marriage offer, promising pretty much anything, the brothers respond. But the words they say are hiding what they truly intend to do. Their plan is, it's brilliant and chilling all at the same time. They completely hide their rage and they pretend to consider the offer, but they add a condition. They say, look, we can't give our sister to someone who isn't part of our people. So if you want this to happen, every single man in your city must be circumcised, just like us. They make it sound like this great offer of peace and unity, but really, it's a trap. And this just shows you how deep their deception goes. You see, for Jacob's family, circumcision wasn't just some tradition. It was the sacred, physical sign of their covenant, their special promise with God. It was holy. It was the seal of their identity. And by using it as a bargaining chip, the brothers are twisting something sacred into a weapon. Now, Prince Shechem is so desperate to marry Dinah that he agrees right away. He and his father go back to the city gate to sell the idea to all their people. And how do they convince them? Not by talking about honor, but by talking about greed. They basically say, hey, if we do this, all their livestock, their property, all their wealth, it'll all become ours. And on that promise, the men of the city agree. The trap has been set. The city has paid the price. And now the brothers get ready to spring it. So every man in the city has been circumcised, and the Bible specifically points out that on the third day, they were all sore and in the middle of recovering. They were in pain, at their absolute weakest. The entire city was completely defenseless. It's at this exact moment that two of the brothers, Simeon and Levi, who actually shared the same mother, Leah, as Dinah, they take the lead. For them, this is deeply personal. With their swords drawn, they walk right into the unsuspecting city. And what happens next is just swift and brutal. Their revenge isn't just aimed at the prince who did the crime. No, their anger is unleashed on the entire city. First, Simeon and Levi kill Shechem, his father, and every other man in that city. Then they go into the prince's house and they take their sister Dinah back. But it doesn't stop there. The other brothers join in, and their rage turns into greed. They completely plunder the defenseless city, taking all the wealth, all the livestock, and capturing all the women and children. The brothers return to their camp, not as heroes, but as the masterminds of a massacre. And their father, Jacob, he is horrified. Jacob doesn't see honor in what they did. He only sees danger. His reaction is completely practical. He yells at them, "What have you done? You've made everyone who lives here hate us. We're just a small group. They're going to gather their armies and they will wipe us out completely." He's terrified for their survival. But his sons, they don't feel any regret at all. Their response is just this sharp, defiant question that kind of hangs in the air. Should he be allowed to treat our sister like that? For them, it was all about honor, no matter what the cost. And that's where the chapter ends, leaving us to wrestle with that very question. This ancient, intense story really forces us to look at something very modern, something that's inside all of us, that powerful, fiery emotion of anger. I mean, the brothers' anger was justified, wasn't it? A terrible injustice was done to their sister. But was their response just? They didn't just punish the person who was guilty, they destroyed an entire city. This story pushes us to ask, where is that line between justice and revenge? And this brings us to our Midat challenge for the week. Let's call this one Tame the Flame. The brothers' anger was like a wildfire, but their revenge was an explosion. So this week, when you feel that spark of anger, and you will, just pause. Before you act, ask yourself this one question. Is my reaction helpful, and is it fair? Take 3 deep breaths, and then choose a response that builds things up, instead of one that tears everything down. Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.